I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
The good Lord lets us grow old for a reason, to gain the wisdom to find fault with everything He's made.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire offshore Orion. I watched sea beams glittering in the dark in 10 hours a game.
Welcome to Not Retired Yet. If you think you're too old for this, oh, you know the rest. I'm Lucas, I'm 52, and I need a job. I'm not alone. There are plenty of us out there across industries, across time zones, and across our virtual horizon. Older job seekers getting up each day and fighting the good fight because, well, we have to. We're not retired yet. This is a document of the diverse experiences we as older folks face as we look for work in 2025 and beyond. These are interesting times, indifferent times, uncertain times, and hostile times. With AI, capitalism, and careers in the late stages, I hope to shed some light on these and other areas of concern and happiness. I am talking to our fellow job seekers and sharing their stories and thoughts on a time when we should be planning our exit from the workforce, and instead, we're starting over. Today I'm talking with Emily from Washington. Emily is a media producer currently looking for her next role. But role isn't quite the right word. She's looking to pivot after a devastating few years after the pandemic. I've known Emily a long time and she is a good friend. I've been a passenger on her journey and I'm very excited to showcase her story this episode. In this episode, we talk about Emily's project, Crumpled Ink. I'll add those links and some others, both to her website and TikTok account, to the comments of this episode, so you can get a glimpse of what's next for her. Emily's explanation of freelancer and freelancing is the launchpad for this episode. So what does freelancing in 2025 look like for you?
Well, it doesn't look like what it did, I'll say, in 2019. And that was before the pandemic, and then I had a few other setbacks in between. But a lot of places that, we had an idea of what traditional work looked like for most people. And most people, that was perhaps a 9 to 5. And for me, that was freelance, which was generally 9 to 5 when I was on contract. For whatever production I was producing at the time. So, get up early, do my workout, commute, work all day. And generally my hours were anywhere between 8 and 16-hour days, sometimes more on set. And I would work really hard. I would always say to people, I usually work 80-hour weeks. And then I have a break in between jobs. And that break could be, just a few days, maybe a day, maybe they overlap, but sometimes it would be a month or more. But for what I did and the amount of money I got paid, it was sustainable. And I was really good with budgeting my expenses. I knew how much, I had going out every month. So I needed to bring in X amount every month. And then I'd also put a lot of away in savings for the drier months and the leaner times like I'm having right now. So it was nice. I would say my jobs generally ran anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And I would be lucky to possibly get 8 to 12 of those a year. And that was a good salary for the year. That was, a typical salary, what somebody would be pulling in, living here on the West Coast in a major metropolitan city. So I was fine and content with that. COVID hits. Things slow down for us in the entertainment industry. Having to work through our new COVID protocols. We are in close quarters on set. And of course, we know that, actors have to work face to face with other actors and have intimate scenes, but then you also have the rest of the crew working side by side. So COVID, changed a lot for us, but we got through that. We figured out safety protocols. And I think we were probably one of the top industries to figure it out the quickest because we had to. And safety is always on the forefront of everyone's mind in the entertainment industry. Safety comes first, hands down, always has, always will. So figuring that out, that was fine. But up here in Seattle, production companies then started to close their doors. They figured out, hey, I don't know that I want to be in this industry anymore, or I just don't want the overhead anymore. And so they actually literally closed up shop, businesses that had been, around for, I'm going to say 20 years or more in the same location, same building. And they were employing, anywhere 10, 20, 30 people perhaps on the regular salary, in addition to hiring freelancers such as myself. They just closed up shop and decided, I just don't want to do this anymore because things had changed. The economy had changed, so many other factors. So that was difficult, but luckily I still was getting work. There's a lot of outside companies that would come and shoot in Seattle. And then I also had my work down in Los Angeles. So, frequently I would go down there and work. And then I had a health setback, and that's what changed it all for me. I was diagnosed with cancer, as you know, and I basically had to take an entire year off of work, not by my choosing. It was because the doctors, my surgeons, kept rescheduling surgeries. So I could never have a firm surgery date. And that, when I first was diagnosed, I knew that I can continue on working, that after I had my first round of surgery, I would probably take a couple weeks off, heal from that, maybe a month, because I just couldn't move my body, and then get back to work. It was fine. But in the freelance industry, you need to be available all the time so that you can say, hey, yes, I can take this job between, let's just say, March 1st and April 1st. But if I had anything, like my surgery was supposed to be, let's just say, April 3rd, great. I can work for that month, take off April to May perhaps, and then get back to work. But they kept changing the dates on me. So I had to pass up, I believe, 5 jobs, unfortunately. And then I wasn't supposed to have chemo, but then I wound up having chemo, and that just kind of did it for me. And then radiation, and then the recovery was much more difficult than they tell you. So recovery was definitely harder than the treatments for me. And then bouncing back, I kind of realized that I had been working my entire life. I had always put work before myself, before, possibly starting a family, getting married. And that just wasn't the life that I wanted anymore. And I needed to take a step back, reevaluate my priorities, reevaluate what my life looked like, and have it come to Jesus, if you will. And it has been difficult since, trying to figure all that out. But I know that what I had before, that traditional work life for me, is no longer working for me. It's no longer what I want for my future. And it's scary because knowing what you don't want, but not knowing what you do want, I think that's a challenge for a lot of us, job seekers, especially, over the age of 45, who might be displaced at the time without, what we had before. And for me, if I could get that old 2019 rhythm and routine back, I might jump on board and say, that's fine, because I need to fill up the bank account once again, because it has been lean times for the past few years. But do I want that, until I retire, 65-ish? Absolutely not. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, no, that's an incredible story. It being, having the privilege of kind of being on the sidelines and witnessing a portion of that has been, I just can't imagine how you've been able to kind of bounce back from that and land on 2 feet, regardless of if they're shaky feet or not. That seems like a real seminal moment. So we've gone from 2019, where the freelance and the production industry in Seattle and Los Angeles was pretty robust. You had a good amount of work, to COVID, which was the wheels were starting to come off the train at that point for the whole industry. And then this cancer scare has really kind of thrown the whole career in a different light. And that's like super challenging as you're trying to kind of get your stance on. You're trying to get your uh, you're trying to be able to, maintain yourself and fulfill those promises that you've made from day one to now. We've got like a mortgage, you've got bills to pay, you have everything. if we go back to, I guess, for the idea of freelancing and how that works, you've got kind of this feast or famine aspect to it where you're working and it's good and that's all you do all day all night, and then you don't, and you've got to be able to manage your way through that. You've got to be able to save your money, and you've got to be able to budget your money effectively, which is that's some upper level executive functioning right there. So I think like a lot of people maybe don't realize that as a freelancer, you have to pay your own health insurance. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, I have had to pay my own health insurance for 23 plus years in this industry. And it's fine. It is a chunk of change every month, but then I, hear about other people having to partially pay for theirs with their employer, and it seems to be just about the same amount I pay. So it is what it is. The other thing is I don't have an employer funded, what is it, 401k, or that they put into that for me as well. So I have to, be on top of that. And depending on the type of freelancer or contractor that you may be, and in the entertainment industry, you're always an employee. So you're on W-2. You never have to fill out 1099. That's illegal. So luckily, I have taxes taken out of all of my paychecks. Therefore, I am able to claim unemployment insurance. Now, if you're on 1099, they did allow for that back in COVID. I don't believe that they're allowing for that anymore. So, for a while out there, all the other artists, musicians, freelancers, contractors who were always working on 1099 could apply for unemployment. I don't think they're allowed to anymore, which is a real shame because at the end of the day, hey, we all pay our taxes. We're paying into the same system. You should be allowed to do that. But so I have had the benefit unemployment insurance during the extremely lean times in between jobs to help get me through the day, paying my mortgage and bills. But I am not on that right now. I've ran out of time. So I haven't had unemployment for about a year now. And luckily, like I said, I don't spend a lot of money. I have always been good about saving. And I, just threw tons of money into a savings account that actually, I have to dig into all the time to pay my bills. So, but
Right.
that's getting to a point where it's looking a little meager, and I need my next production job while I'm figuring out what is my next career move, because that's where I'm at right now, is hopefully transitioning careers altogether.
Yeah, yeah, and that's both exceptionally frightening and exceptionally exciting. Yeah, you've got this savings account that is your health insurance, that's
Hmm.
your getting you through lean times, and that's your retirement. Like,
Yeah,
like that, and that's depleting rapidly because of not being able to get certain amount of work, to be not being able to insert yourself into that freelancing situation anymore, partly because the freelancing jobs are different from 2019, from 2020, partly because you don't want to do that anymore. That's really a kind of a tough spot to be in. And I think a lot of people, a lot of listeners here can really relate with that type of thinking where you're just like, I put in 20 plus years on this. I'm so tired of this right now. What do
yeah.
I want? What do I want to do? What do you want to do?
That is a good question. Now, I have dabbled in during COVID. I got a little bored when the entertainment industry was trying to figure out their COVID protocols and what life looks like on set. So, and there were rumors of strikes happening. So, with those rumors, and the strikes wound up actually happening. But while those rumors were circulating and it was kind of slow for the first 6 months of COVID, I was like, all right, what are some of my interests? So real estate was always kind of an interest of mine. So I went and got my real estate license. I studied hard for that and I went and got it. And while I was simultaneously doing real estate and production together for a while, for about a year, I think in 2020, 2021, um, before, and then I was diagnosed with cancer in 2022, at the beginning of 2022. And that's when I realized, hey, I just have way too much on my plate. What's the one thing that I'm not quite sure about, and it was real estate. I was like, I need to just kill that. So I did. I quit immediately. Production, I still knew how to do in my sleep. And yeah, it was my bread and butter. So tried that on for a while, went through cancer, came out of that a different person. And I said, what do I actually like doing? And I said, well, I love writing. I love books. I love fiction. I love stories. So I dove deep into a ton of writing classes and did that and said, all right, what are my next steps with this? How can I apply some of my producing skills? And I thought I'd be a good editor. So I signed up for editing classes and I became a certified story coach, developmental editor, and tried that on for a while. And at the end of the day, what do all of these have in common? The common denominator, the one thing that I hate most, sales. I have to sell myself in order to get these jobs. And I am not good at selling myself. I'm not good at networking. I'm just, it's like, I'm great at all this. Here are my qualifications, hire me, instead of the pitch that I have to pitch to people. So that to me is anything that involves me having to sell myself and be like, hey, blah, 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 and shoot the shit and pretend and be fake. I'm not good at that. What I am good at is my job. I can sit down, I am laser focused. I can work really hard. I can work long hours. The burnout does happen, but that happens to everybody. But the burnout for me is selling myself, constantly having to say, hey, I'm available. Hey, come check me out. Why aren't you hiring me? I'm done with that. I can't do that anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm still figuring it out.
And that's, I think, is going to resonate with so many listeners here. Like they have just these amazing ideas and amazing energy in which to put to them. And then they kind of feel like they get blocked by this idea that you've got to go out and hustle. You've got to go out
Yeah.
and promote yourself and promote like a lot 24/7. Maybe, maybe not 24/7, but like quite a bit to be able to do that. And you had mentioned when we spoke last, you had mentioned that was something that was kind of frustrating for you, that you weren't kind of like this necessarily a culture fit for an office job, that like you'd go in and be able to do the work and do that really, really well, but you weren't going to go and do water cooler talk. You weren't going to go and try to make friends for that. That seems like when people are applying for office jobs, that's the one thing that they've got to like just like be completely on about. You've got to be a good culture fit for work. You've got to do that. And do you see that as a pediment
I
to finding
do.
other work?
I do actually. And it's not that I wouldn't fit in an office environment. I can absolutely shoot the shit with anybody. And, I'm a friendly person. I'm kind, but I'm not there to make friends. They can be my quote unquote work family. And I use that term loosely, but it's because you are with these people for 8+ hours a day. So they become a sort of family, chosen or otherwise. Um, so yes, I can do that. And I have done that. Usually with production, I have to go into an office and sit there and be part of a team. And the team, luckily for me, is a lot of people that I get to choose. And so that our personalities work well together. We know how each other works. We don't have to talk to each other all the time unless there's a quick question. But yes, the day-to-day office, mundane life, I am there to get my job done. I am not there to make friends with anybody, go out for drinks afterwards, unless you just absolutely hit it off with people, which happens all the time. I've met some of my best friends through work. Um, but again, I don't want to waste 1 to 2 hours of my day with idle chit chat. I would rather take that time back for myself, be able to go home. It's hard enough, commuting into an office. I always say that's at least a 45-minute average for everybody. So we're losing an hour and a half every single day just sitting in the car. For women, it's a little bit longer because we have to get ready, hair and makeup, that sort of thing. It's a lot having to go into an office. And if you're going to make me sit there and be friends and just water cooler talk, I don't want it. I want to come in, like head down, get my job done, and leave in 6 hours, 5, 6 hours even. Yeah, I don't know why people have to be penalized for sitting there all day if you can get your job done you can get the work done, go home, enjoy your life. It will make people a lot happier. People will want to come into work and say, now I can talk, I feel more rested. I actually went and did something fun after work yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it was cancer that taught me this. We need to give life back to people. We are life, but people don't feel like we're life. Like we look at all this other life out there, plants, animals, that sort of stuff. We forget that we are life as well. And we're not meant to be cooped up in a box, sitting all day, every day.
oh, yeah, yeah, 100%, absolutely. I was trying to find, I don't remember where I found it initially, but there's like this stupid video of this guy at a city council meeting, I think, where he was saying nobody should have jobs anymore. Everybody should be paid like $10,000 a month to go party on the beach and have AI do all the work. Ch- oh, Chad and JT, yeah, yeah, found it. Here, they're on TikTok. I'll add a link to it in the comments.
What up, Council? I'm here to discuss artificial intelligence. AI is going to take all of our jobs and render us useless. And I, for one, am stoked. I hate jobs. I had a job once, and everyone there talked in weird voices. AI is going to 86 all of that. But we'll still need money. That is why I'm asking the government to step up and make sure we're breaded. We are proposing a small payment plan, or small PP, of 10G a month for every citizen so we can party and look hot and enjoy our free time. Now, we can't afford to just sit back and have AI bust through and not have a plan. We got to make sure people have food and houses so we can party and rage in peace. So instruct AI to pay all of us, and then you dudes can retire gracefully before you get replaced, and we'll see you at the beach. The bonfires will be epic. Everybody will be hot. Martin Luther King. Thank you.
That's so dumb. Like that's just the worst. But like there is like some like kind of valid points there. Like, can we just have AI do the work and we can go and party on the beach?
Yeah, I feel like exactly what needs to happen, and that's what's going to happen is AI is going to replace, I don't know, perhaps 60% of the work that humans are currently doing. All of us that sit down like we're doing, you know, turning on our computers every day, punching in numbers, doing this or that. It will replace a lot of that. Now, again, it's not going to replace anybody, say, in service industries, healthcare, a lot of the, I want to say creative, but that's, there will still be a place for the creative arts, human creation. But yeah, it's coming for us. And so that guy, what he has to say, oh my God, it's hysterical. But it's true. Now, how are we going to afford our mortgages, rent, food, etc., if none of us are working because it's way less expensive and faster to have machines do our work for us? So, yeah, um, there is a way to pay people universal basic income so that we can afford to be alive. If not, our society is looking at much bigger problems, much, much bigger problems.
Do you think that that's on the table?
I know the conversation is being had right now in Washington in regards to a universal basic income. I don't see that happening at least for 10, 15 years, but it's potentially there. And we can absolutely make that happen. I, of course, don't know that much about it. I know Bernie Sanders is having this conversation, so are a lot of other government officials. But there is a way to make it happen. So that people can still have quality of life without, becoming houseless and living on the streets. And that's not what the rich are going to want. We don't want to divide our society like that because if there's a rich community and then there are people without homes, without food, who do you think they're going after? I mean, it would be mayhem. So you need to pay people.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it could
absolutely.
it could get real dystopian real quick.
And we've got all the hot people partying on the beaches, and you know, to the tune of like 10 grand a month.
Hey,
So
let people spend the money on what they want to spend it on, and yeah, go with that. Thank you for showing me that.
yeah.
That's hysterical, and that guy's onto something.
Yeah, and so when we talk about the future, and if there's, if you see like any hope or or if it's all just kind of bleak, you mentioned that in thinking about the future, you needed to change your mindset.
Mhm.
Is that possible?
Um, yes, it is possible. We are all capable of change. My mindset, I've been a pessimist for so many years, and I think that may have started back during the Bush administration, or maybe I've just been like that my entire life. Just always concerned about everything, a worrywart. But honestly, it took cancer that to really help me open my eyes. I have told people that cancer came to me for a reason. It is my teacher. I have come out different, and it may not be apparent right now, but I am growing. I am, shifting my mindset, the way I think. Uh, Books that I have read in the past, I'm rereading, and they are hitting differently. Um, and it is possible to, be accepting of this new future and be open minded about that it can be a good future for us, even though it's gray right now. We can't see through the fog, the mist. It's very scary. But there are ways through it. And how am I going to go about that? I am figuring that out every day. I am trying on different hats. As you well know, I started a project for myself about 45 days ago, called Crumpled Ink. And for me, it was just a way to rip the band-aid off of that, what going back to what I said earlier about sales, me, having to be fake with people and, be on all the time. This was a way for me to get on social media, because I'm not on social media for the most part, and put myself out there every day, be vulnerable, speak my truth, as a way to try and strengthen um, that nervous child within, the one that doesn't want to do sales, the one that doesn't want to, put herself out there. I have to do it. So Crumpled Ink for me is a way of rewriting my life, my next chapter. What is that looking like for me? So every day I am trying something new. I have decided to do every 30 days, try on a different hat, see what fits, what doesn't fit, what feels right. And I feel like by the end of this year, by the end of 2025, I will have something figured out in terms of what my future career will look like. It doesn't happen overnight. And I know it's very frustrating for some people. It's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for my boyfriend. It's frustrating, for my family to see somebody, that had potential in the past, that had a great career, but that's basically crashed and crumbled right now. And I can't figure it out. It's hard. It seems you'd think you can figure it out overnight, and you can't. It's not graceful.
So much of the questions we ask ourselves as job seekers boil down to the "what is next for me" question. When we think about our capabilities versus our desires, we are weighting things differently than when we did in the past. Our experiences and our attitudes have changed in a way that I don't know if anyone I have talked to would personally regret. How that stacks up to answer the question, "what is next for me," is both easy and immensely challenging. This interview was conducted over Zoom from Seattle, Washington. If you have questions or comments, please reach out to me via email at lucas.smith.development@gmail.com. And until next time, keep fighting the good fight. I will. I'm not retired yet.